little stopwatch drawing there, 3 minutes 54 seconds he made it. And that's his signature up there, of course. And John today's really keeps the same appearance. Of course, his nose is still the same shape, and of course he's one of the greats that we've had as an athlete in this country. And there's of course Dawn Fraser, because Dawn was only a young girl those days, and that was a hair you never pick her today unless you knew of those days. And that's her signature down there, and that was done in 1956. And at the back, that's a photograph of her as the girl. Somebody said, "She's not like Dawn Fraser." I said, "You didn't know Dawn Fraser when I sketched her." Of course, remember when I said earlier in the piece about Don Conrad's and Elsa Conrad, they were the two greats of the day. Dark hair, I've got all the little drawers, little fishes around there, it's one of the big good. There's their signatures, and there's the signature there of Don, where is it? No, my project, Don Talbot. He was their coach those days, who brought them to the world fame. And of course, put it on the floor there. This is Murray Rose. Oh dear, he did colour one many years ago. I've done a couple of drawings of him since, of course. That's his signature, the 1956 Olympics he's got there. And that drawing was done in 1956. This is Bob Morrow. Unfortunately, he went back to America after I finished the drawing. And that was the shape of the torch, completely different to what we have in Australia for the 2000 games. Bob Morrow won the 100 and the 200 metres race, and as I say, unfortunately I didn't get his signature. But there's the little drawings that I've done of the coins, of the gold, of the medals, I mean. Here's Betty Kepler, my favourite girl. I think she's a darling of everybody. Unfortunately she's not in the best of health, but she's still actively in mind. I ran into her back over in Perth, and she was so pleased to see me, because we used to get on. As a matter of fact, that girl, when she went to Germany one trip years ago, searched at Frankfurt and tried to find this very beautiful paper that was called Kent paper, which you can't get these days. And she came back and says, "Tony, that publishing place or produced that paper has gone out of existence." But that was my girl that went over and searched in Germany to find that nice paper for me. This is John Landy, of course, another great miler. That was done in 1956. And see that signature there? That was 56, and I would say 40 years after the drawing was done, he's put his signature on it. And he wrote on it to Tony, best wishes, blah, blah. And anyhow, that, as I say, the signature wasn't placed on that drawing for 40 years after I did the drawing. This is Tabora, the famous Hungarian, I think, if I remember rightly, and his two teammates. They were great mile runners. He had a little bit of a squint in his eye, if I recall, those days. And it's all done in colour. I must have had a lot of the time and energy to do a lot of these drawings in colour, because today, to do a job like that, it's, well, I just haven't got the time, and I don't know if I have the ability. Although I found the ability came back to me when I did the Australian stamps. I don't know if you recall, I did the great sportsman of the day of Australia in the form of a caricature, and it was the first time in the world that they'd ever had caricatures and stamps. There's a young Andy North who won the Sydney Surf, I think, on a couple of occasions. It's a very nice young fellow. I think he's still competing in his own form, but he's a great distance runner. Riley Boyle, of course, there she is, and unfortunately a little bit of the stains coming through the paper there. It's probably the old glue that used to be used those days. It's not like the good paste that they put the drawings down there now. And here's the fastest man in the world, Morris Green. I did that drawing on the spot in Athens during the World's Athletic Championships. Now, a lot of those, I did about 30 sketches over there, if I recall, and each one's been signed. I used to do them on the spot after they finished the race and came into the press room or into where they were being interviewed. And he's coming out here to compete against Michael Johnson. Michael, this way, didn't they? Campbell, isn't it? And anyhow, that's the drawing of the famous fastest man in the world. Oh yes, let's find. This was the most famous of the Russians, but it was Kutz, who unfortunately I haven't got his signature is. That drawing was finished. There's a lot of work there. There's like the eyes and there's a lot of work. There was a little drawing that I did from a photograph of him in action. Is a straight little drawing in colour. And of course there's a lot of work in these drawings and designing the whole drawing. But they were done, and now that I have them in my possession, I'm pleased that I made the effort to do it in those days, because your energy sometimes as you get older is not as great as it was, although the purpose of myself is to doing these drawings is to complete those who will be competing. I hope in this, finish them all, as many as I can, for the 2000 games, and if I live long enough I'll go over to Greece and do the 2004. If I live a little further than that, I'll do the next one. Not that I get any money out of it, but to me to be a recording of this great game, the movement, in other words, of friends within the people of the world, the Olympians. Oh dear, oh dear.